Is there anything greater than the teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is there any book of revelation equal to the Quran? Is there any system of life that comes even close to the system of Islam? Certainly not. So why are we in a situation where we ourselves are struggling to hold our religion instead of being the ones that is passing it around like a pocket warmer, like a pocket warmer in the winter, where we can hand out to people so they can hold on to it and make their lives better? This is our job. This is our job as inheritors of the Prophet ﷺ. And prophets don't bequeath money or property or land or anything. Only one thing can we inherit from him. When my grandmother died, she was a poor woman. She didn't have much, but she had a clock. And when I was a little girl, I used to play with this clock, and I really, really loved this clock. And so my father saved it for me. I was still living in Syria, and he saved it for me. And when I got back, he gave me the clock. And it's a pink clock, and I really love that clock. And every time I look at that clock, it makes me think of my grandmother. It gives me a lot of feelings of nostalgia. From the Prophet ﷺ, you and I have inherited one thing, and that is his message. And thinking about Islam should give us warm feelings. When others think of Islam, when people of other faiths think of Islam, it should give them warm feelings. It should make them remember you and me. The inheritance of his message is our only inheritance. And if we are to understand who he was and who we are, then we need to take that inheritance and invest it in his ummah. And our ummah, because that's our family, means the people around us, the people that are not coming, and the people of other faiths. And we need to join hands with organizations that are already working with these people. We need to reach out on a personal level, and we need to figure out creative ways to reach out. Whether it's writing a play or a story or a book, or going out into a neighborhood and making a change in housing. The problems in the United States are many, and we carry the cure for every single one. I believe that. I believe there isn't a single problem in the world today that we don't carry the key and the cure to that problem. But we're selfish and stingy because we're not sharing, and we're insular, and we keep our money and our time focused only on ourselves. And I wonder on the Day of Judgment, I think a lot about strange things sometimes, and I think that maybe on the Day of Judgment there will be two glasses. One glass will have in it the tears you shed for this dunya. The tears you shed because you were worried about money. The tears you shed because your car stopped working. The tears you shed because your insurance rates went up. And maybe the tears you shed because you were embarrassed or humiliated or things didn't go, you didn't get the grade on the test that you wanted. And then in the other glass will be the tears you shed for your religion and for the Muslims around the world. Which glass will be fuller? And in the same way, there will be a box and perhaps some kind of other machine that holds time. All of the time and the hours and the minutes that we spent fi sabil hayatna, in the way of our own lives. All important stuff, studying and working and going grocery shopping. Grocery stores in the United States are very time consuming. You have to walk almost 3 miles between milk and bread. Clearly, some of you have never lived overseas. You don't know the difference between a grocery store and the other little tiny places I used to shop in. Anyway, all of this time. We have to spend that time in Allah's, in the spending of this inheritance. In the spending of this inheritance. So when you leave here today, what are you going to do? I always recommend to my students 3 things. To think in three circles. Circle number 1 is knowledge. If you have inherited from the Prophet ﷺ his religion, and you have yet to open the safe deposit box that holds it in, only you are to blame. In other words, if you've inherited this religion but you don't really know what it is, you don't really know the value and the beauty that is there, you don't really know how to apply what you learned in Sunday school, you have no one to blame but yourself. There are programs everywhere. Take advantage of one. Find one and take advantage of it. Our Quran was not meant to be on the shelf, but was meant to be walking in the hearts of every single one of you. Every single one. Imagine the feeling in this place if every single one of us were those who had memorized the Quran. Imagine. So circle number 1 is ilm, knowledge, learning about our religion. Circle number 2 is ibadah, worship. We have a crisis in the United States that is far worse than Donald Trump. And that is the crisis of prayer. We are no longer a community that prays 5 times a day on time. We are a community that skips. We don't skip class, and if our children skip class, they're in big trouble. And if we definitely don't skip work, or at least very rarely. We're on time, we're devoted, we go to work on time, we go to school on time, we go to meetings on time. God forbid we would miss a wedding. But prayer, Salat al-Fajr, is a often missed prayer. We're missing prayers because, Dhuhr prayer, because we're on the highway in large cities where highways are too long. Asr prayer because we're asleep in the afternoon or in a business meeting at work. Maghrib because it's short and I've got to catch dinner. And in the summer, Salat al-Isha because it's just too late. And here you will find the real reason for our lack of light. Here in this space of missed prayers, how do we expect the people around us, the rest of the ummah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, to come to Islam if we ourselves have broken one basic pillar, the pillar of prayer? It is a crisis. And if we are not praying, we cannot expect that our children will. And how about our grandchildren? And then, where will we be? Solve it with tahajjud. Solve the missed prayers by deciding you're going to be a person of tahajjud. That means a person who gets up at night before Fajr and prays at least 2 rak'ahs. It is a keystone habit. And it will change. Even if you're missing 3 prayers a day, if you start praying tahajjud, that will change. And the third circle is the circle of social justice. And that's where you take what you learned, you take the light you've gained, and you and you reach out. Reach out widely and deeply and make real change so that you leave a legacy. A legacy instead of hoarding. Have you ever seen that television show about the hoarders? And everyone watches it and tisks at them, and thinks, oh, alhamdulillah, mashallah, that I'm not like that. But imagine the Prophet ﷺ coming into our homes. Wallah, we would look like hoarders. Wallah, our refrigerators would look scary to him. Our cupboards would look frightening, and our closets would look like entire homes filled with clothing for the whole village. Let's not be hoarders of time. Let's not be hoarders of money and things, but let's be generous givers to our communities. We've inherited the Prophet's religion. Let's open the box, practice, and spend of his religion. Open the box by learning, practice through prayer and worship, and spend through real, solid giving and action, so that we can stand up as we were meant to be, as examples to the rest of the people. So we can be looked at and copied, not looked at and shunned. Class act, we should be the class act group, where everyone wishes not to go to Hogwarts, but wishes and hopes for the day they can go to the mosque. They can hang out at the mosque and be a Muslim and be friends with all those cool people. Because certainly the Prophet ﷺ and his companions count as the coolest ever. So we need to mirror that in our time. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless the work of ICNA. I'm very impressed with what I saw. This is the kind of stuff that will really make real changes in the world. Women's shelters and financial help and environmental work. All of this work is a true example of the legacy of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Inshallah, each of us can be written as part of that legacy, part of that inheritance. Inshallah, the ummah of the Prophet, we will never again walk around, but that we recognize that everyone around us is part of the ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we will be asked how we treated them, what we said to them, how we thought, what our reflection was. 3 circles. Increase your ilm, increase your knowledge of Islam every single day. Circle number 2, don't let the crisis of prayer be in Orlando. And circle number 3, outreach, make a difference, make a change. Let it be known that Muslims stand on the side of social justice in imitation of our Prophet. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik alayhi. Thank you very much.